Join me as I take on the challenge of crafting a stunning wood bowl using maple and walnut. Let's see if I can bring these two beautiful woods together. Today we're starting with our segmented bowl blank already mounted to the lathe. We've got a recess on the bottom of our bowl, and that's what we're using to hold in the chuck jaws. We are using the tailstock for support just to keep the bowl secure on the lathe. So our first step is to get everything round and to start working away some of these steps. So I'm going to start out with my 1/2-inch bowl gouge. We're going to kick on the lathe and start working this to get round. We're making good progress on the shape of the outside of the bowl, but I have a little bulge down here that I need to work out and also kind of blend this part of the bowl down to the bottom. So I'm going to switch tools and use a carbide scraper to just kind of help me feather that in here from the bottom, working out toward the rim. I just want to take a quick look at that and see if we've got our shape, how that's coming along. Where our walnut ring is here, we want that to protrude off the side of the bowl just a little bit. You can see I've got a couple flat spots right here, so we're going to come down basically to this point. That'll get this round, and then we'll undercut out here on the rim and right below this just a little bit so that the walnut band protrudes off the edge of the bowl. So we're just going to cut in just a little bit, 1/8 of an inch, maybe a little more here from this edge, and that'll reveal a little bit more of the walnut ring. We'll do the same thing just below it, so we'll undercut it by about the same amount, and then we'll fix our curve all the way down to the bottom. Okay, so that's got our walnut band, our walnut ring exposed. Now we're just going to shape down below that, and we're going to go ahead and use the carbide tool just to kind of blend. We've got a bulge here now, so we're going to blend that point in with the rest of the body of the bowl. Now it's time to finish hollowing out the inside of the bowl, and just like we did on the outside, our first step is just to get everything round and to kind of remove these steps. So we're going to start out here on the edge with our bowl gouge, and we'll end up using our cutter tools quite a bit here because I want to leave the tailstock in place as long as I can just to kind of keep everything mounted to the lathe. Alright, so we resharpened our cutter head and we're going to get back to work. I'm not sure if you can see it, but we've still got some square edges even out here on the edge. And so I'm going to go ahead. I know the most efficient and effective way to remove that and get that wall thickness started up here at the top near our rim is going to be with the bowl gouge. So I've got the tailstock out of the way so that I can get in here and make that cut. We're just going to take it easy and gently so I can try not to bounce this, throw this bowl off the lathe. So I'm just going to be patient, trying to take light cuts and not get too aggressive as we work down this. So we did a little patchwork here on this seam, just like we did on the exterior of the bowl. So I think we're in good shape now. We're going to go ahead and finish the bottom, get this smoothed out, and get ready to sand. Alright, I'm pretty happy with this overall. Last thing I want to do is trim down the rim. So I've got a line marked about a ½ inch above this bead all the way around, and that's where we're going to trim the rim down to. We're going to use our bowl gouge to take care of that, and then we'll be ready to kind of wrap up this bowl. The bowl already kind of sized. I don't want to put too much leverage on my chuck. Aggressive cut here. I just resharpened my negative rake scraper. We're just going to make a couple passes along the inside of the bowl to kind of smooth this out, get rid of any tool marks, which will help make sanding just a little bit easier. We've got all of our turning done, and it's time to sand and start finishing our bowl. So I've got my air-powered die grinder out here, which is the way I like to sand bowls like this. So we're going to get this kicked on. We're going to kick on the lathe in reverse, going toward the wall. We've got our dust collection. We're going to kick it on. So we're going to make a ton of noise and put a bunch of dust in there. Now with the sanding done, it's just time to add a little finish. On this bowl, I like to finish this bowl with shellac. So that's what we're going to do today. I like to brush shellac. It can get pretty sticky pretty quickly. One of the things I like about shellac is that it dries really fast. So we'll be able to get 3 coats on this bowl in here this afternoon without a problem. So using a brush with shellac, since it dries so fast, may not seem too logical. But always just rinse this brush out when I'm done with it with a little denatured alcohol. I don't get all the shellac out of it, and then just before I started, I soaked it for a couple minutes in the alcohol. That loosened up the bristles. Coat number 1 is done. We'll let this dry for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and buff it and do the second coat and third coat. My first coat of shellac is dry, so I'm just going to take this Abralon pad and just kind of buff the surface really quickly. That'll just kind of smooth everything off, get any dust or anything that might be in the finish out of it. And then we'll apply our second coat. Since we've got it on the lathe, I'm going to go ahead and kick on the lathe and let it help me do the buffing a little bit. This will just take a second. With this process, just kind of buffing in between each of these coats will keep the bowl really nice and smooth to the touch when we're finished. All right, once I've buffed it, I usually take a paper towel. I've got 2 layers here. I've got a wet layer and a dry layer. And I'm just going to remove any of the dust from polishing the finish. It's not very damp. It's just damp enough to grab the dust. Okay, that'll do it. Let that dry for just a second, and then we'll add our second coat of finish. Our third coat of shellac is dry, and I've got this fine grit Abralon pad, about 4,000 grit, that we're going to just take and buff the bowl really quickly. If you'd like a printable cut list for this project, just comment segments in the comment section down below, and we'll send you a link to that file. And if you'd like to see how to put a blank like this together, we've got a lesson series that you can find right here. And I'll see you there.